Hi and welcome to Stories from My Drinking Days. My name is Harry Fell and I'm the founder of No Low Cocktails and Bars, bringing you a non-alcoholic choice for when you decide not to drink, either through subscription and gift boxes or by bringing mobile alcohol-free bars to events and festivals. And today I'm joined by Lisa King. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Lisa is a non-conformist who will go above and beyond to stand up for what is right. She's a maverick who's on a mission to help others share their gift with the world. She truly believes that the world will be a better place when we're able to share our truths, release shame and trauma, and spread love and kindness. Lisa's on a journey of self-love and self-mastery, reconnecting with the Lisa behind the many masks she wore throughout her life. Lisa has inner peace, the most amazing people in her life, and has connected and continues to connect with phenomenal game changers who are also changing people's lives by empowering and guiding them to be the best versions of themselves that they can be, which I think we all want to do, don't we? Lisa's enjoying using her voice and her heart to pave the way for others with love and support. She speaks regularly about her journey in interviews at schools and in collaborative books. The Selfloveologist was born through years of self-development, stepping through countless traumas, learning from them, releasing them, and by using the same skills she needed to cope with life when she was younger, strength, tenacity, and drive amongst others, she now utilises these, creating businesses, events, workshops, communities, and books, which is just, that's amazing. I love the intro. I just love it. So
that's me. That is me.
Thank you. Well, welcome to Stories from My Drinking Days, Lisa. Let's start the conversation sort of going back a bit then, and how your relationship with alcohol started.
Oh, wow. It started. Thank you for having me, first and foremost. It's awesome to be here.
You.
My journey with alcohol started at the age of 12. So at the age of 12, I was assaulted. It was a sexual assault. So I won't go too much into that, but you can get the gist of it. Prior to that, I had been in a home filled with domestic violence. My dad was a heavy drinker, so there was a lot. My mum wasn't. My mum didn't drink, but my dad was. So there was a relationship there, and there's a family history as well with alcohol. And growing up, when that happened at 12, it's like I lost myself. It was as if I really needed the alcohol. That's how I felt as a young person, to be able to cope with life. That's a very easy way of me saying it, but that's how it felt at the time. It was numbing out. It was my way of numbing out things, numbing out feelings, numbing out what was going on. And I was then also dealing with my sexuality. And there was lots of things that were happening that was like a snowball effect going down a hill, and it was picking up speed, and it felt as if it was just getting faster and faster. And for me, alcohol was the start of a journey of numbing what was going on so that I could, it felt like it was my coping mechanism.
Yeah. So you started drinking then at 12 to numb out the pain.
Yep.
And then how did that develop over the years? Did you just keep drinking? Did that become a problem for you, or?
I was really good at it. But at 12, the drink, it was then it went on to drugs a bit later then. And it was always recreational stuff. It was never, I would never do anything that could kill me, as in, but not because of me. It was because I didn't want to upset my mum, because she was the one, to be honest, if it wasn't for my mum, I'd probably be dead. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
She was the one reason, because I had no self-love, no self-esteem, no self-worth. It was never about me. It was about, because of all the things she'd been through, there was no way on this earth I was going to put her through anything else. So I didn't do anything that could kill me, but I did things that, and it was ironic, because sometimes I'd take uppers and then I'd take downers. It was like, now looking back, I'm like, what was going on?
Yeah.
And it got to a point with the drinking, I continued drinking, and it was whether I was celebrating, whether I was commiserating, whether I was happy, whether I was sad, drink was always involved. Yeah. And I was in, I played football at a high level. So there was a lot of, fun and connection, going to clubs after football. There was a real great social network, but I was also a bit of a rebel. So I had this I was out clubbing 4 or 5 nights a week back then because I didn't have my own businesses then. I worked, so I was, mind you, I did have very responsible jobs. So it's quite interesting now looking back. But how it transpired is it was constant. People said, "Oh, were you an alcoholic?" I had a really unhealthy relationship with alcohol, and I could drink a lot. Like how my liver is even still in my body.
Yeah.
Is I'm meant to be here. I'm clearly meant to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
And the alcohol was a big part of my journey and what I do. So I had to go through that. But that's how it went.
Yeah. And so how do you answer people when they ask you, were you an alcoholic? Do you think you were, or do you think you were just...
Looking back, it's really interesting. I have no problem with, I mean, I'm not a big fan of labels anyway, but
No, yeah.
But did I have a problem with drink? Yes, absolutely. Was I at the point where somebody would call me an alcoholic? Some may, because I was able to drink a lot, but I could also go a week without having any.
Yeah.
So, but when I did drink, there was no cutoff points. At times I would drink and I can't even remember getting home. It got that unhealthy.
Yeah.
And that was when there were many things. My partner took her life 13 years ago. That was a catalyst for the drinking getting far worse.
Yeah.
There was a lot of guilt associated with it because of the lead up to her death. We'd had a conversation, and because of that conversation, she took her life. So there was a lot of guilt around this, which then led to associating back to all the different things that had happened. But the thing is, then I had more money. You know, I was able to get anything I wanted.
Yeah.
And I did at times. So that's sort of where it went. And it got to a point where I had to make a choice. I had a breakdown after Becky's death, and I had a choice. I either go back to that life of drinking, and everyone thinking I was, oh, you're so successful, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. I was drinking to cope with life. And I chose me, thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think everyone can understand it. It sounds like that's two very traumatic events that led to drinking in the first place, and then obviously an increased level of drinking. And I think most people can understand the need to numb those feelings out. You know, I think a lot of us do it. And it sounds like you were probably a classic binge drinker, really, rather than
that. Yeah. But I was drinking most days. It got to a point after my breakdown, because I wasn't binge drinking as much. I had businesses, so it wasn't something you could do that at weekends. But it was also, as I was getting older, the feeling was taking a bit longer.
Yeah,
the hangovers were a little bit more potent. But I was having drink 4 or 5 times a week, and it was that pattern that thankfully I addressed. I went on a personal development journey after my breakdown, when I chose me, and I did a TEDx about unmasking the true you, because it was, I was like layers of masks to cope with life, and I had to unpick all of those.
Yeah.
So I started unpicking them one at a time, and there was a lot, you know, from when I was a young child, and all the beliefs I had about there was abandonment and trust, and they all led to the drinking as well. It wasn't just the thing at 12. They all led to it. And I had to understand who I was underneath all of that. So now I'm high on life. I've been sober for 5.5 years.
Excellent. Well done.
Thank you. And that was my greatest gift of self-love. The final piece of the jigsaw was stopping drinking.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said that after Becky's death, then you had a breakdown. At what point did you decide that you were going to choose you? Was there something that happened, or, you know, I can imagine you would have been in quite a low place.
Yeah, I mean, from the point of view of the catalyst to really make that change, it was the breakdown. I was at the lowest point. And bearing in mind, I was a captain at football. I motivate people on a daily basis. So it was rock bottom. I couldn't motivate myself. I couldn't be there for others. And I was running a mental health football team. I was doing many things. I was an ex-personal trainer. That was my thing. So the fact that I couldn't even motivate myself to lift my head off the pillow was the point where I just went, how can I help anyone? I can't even help myself.
Yeah.
So that was when I made that choice. And then I started putting boundaries in place, to be honest, and saying, no, that was the first thing that I did to start the journey. And then I kept learning and learning more about how the brain works, what was happening, where did this all come from? So rather than just looking at, oh, you know, what's happening, I got to the root cause of it. That's where I went. And it was a harder journey, but oh my God, it was so worth it. Yeah. It's the best thing I ever did.
Yeah. And how long would you say that journey took you?
So I had my breakdown about 10 years ago now, and the journey started. So I started the journey off, but I was still drinking at this point. So I was still learning. I was doing all of the amazing things. I was in a relationship that started to understand really wasn't right for either of us. So that was there. So I needed to understand me, to understand this pattern I was having with relationships, and look at each bit. So the journey for me was an interesting one. So I started it about 10 years ago, but I would say it blew up exponentially when I stopped drinking, because drinking clouded things. Yeah. Drinking kept me on a level of consciousness that I wouldn't rise above until I stopped drinking.
Yeah.
Once I stopped drinking, it's like everything that I was learning magnified, because I was able to be truly present. I was able to be, you know, speaking with complete integrity. It's not that I wasn't before. It's just that there were times when the drink was keeping me at a lower level of consciousness that I couldn't even understand where I was. Yeah. Whereas the moment I stopped, it's like a cloud moved out of the way, is the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah.
So and that's when it all,
was there anything that prompted you to give up the alcohol? Obviously, you were on that journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Did anything happen that made you think, actually, the booze has got to go?
Yeah, it did. What had happened, there were 5 occasions where because I could drink, and I mean really drink, it like unhealthy drink. It really wasn't great. Back then, oh yeah, it's great, let's get Lisa doing all the drinking competitions. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
But when you get to a point, you're like, I can't even remember like getting back home.
Yeah.
And there were 5 occasions where I was told that my behavior was completely unacceptable. I would never physically hurt anyone. I grew up around that. There's no way. But verbally, I said things that weren't very nice. They weren't very nice. And it wasn't me. It was me, but it was, you know, I looked at it and went, whoa, that's my dad. That's my dad. That's not who I am. Oh my God, I need to deal with this. And so that's what happened. There were these 5 occasions. And then I just went, okay, well, this needs to stop. And that's what I did. That was the catalyst for me to go, no, I'm going to stop for a year. So that was the plan. I'm going to stop for a year. I know that I'm going to feel better. I need to, because the reason I think it was happening was I was delving really deep into, and there was a lot of trauma. That the stuff I've mentioned was only a couple of things, big things, but there was still a lot of other quite big things. And I was delving in and uncovering it. And I think all of that was coming up at the time. And I wasn't dealing with it. I didn't really know how to deal with it. And it culminated in me drinking more, which then led to these episodes. And I just went, okay, stop. So I stopped the alcohol for a year. And because my why was so big, the resistance was small, because every single time, and there weren't that many, to be fair, I started to doubt. I would go straight back to, okay, this is why I'm not going to be drinking. This is why I'm not doing it. And so and now it's 5.5 years. I'm high on life now. And I know that sounds really corny to say, but it's true. The same buzz I used to get from drinking, I get from doing what I do and living the life that I live now.
Yeah. So did you find that first year quite easy then? Because your why was so big.
Yeah, easier than I thought. And there were moments, don't get me wrong. I stopped drinking January 1st, as you do. Got to the summer and I'm like, oh, it'd be nice to go and have a beer in the garden. But that was it. What was brilliant is I stopped myself from being in situations where I might want to drink. Initially, this was at the beginning. I set myself up to win. I made sure I wasn't putting myself in situations or around people that it was interesting, because some people were like, oh, you're not the same if you don't have a drink. I was way more fun without alcohol. I would still dance all night. It was their issue. It was interesting that it was their projections on me, because it's like, well, if Lisa can do it, I've got no excuse.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. So a lot of friendships changed because I didn't want to be around in situations where everyone was just getting drunk, and I could see things very clearly and differently. So the first year was, and it was enlightening, I think is the word. It really opened up different friendships. It opened up different ways of living life and loving life. And yeah, it was saved me a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything you miss though from your drinking days? Is there no?
Nothing. Because I am, what was a beautiful thing to really understand with that journey was, so many people say, oh, you know, you're not the same. And it's like, I'm more fun. I can dance all night. I dance everywhere. So I will dance. That hasn't changed. It's just that I don't want, I'm 52 now. I don't want to be in the clubs or be going out all night getting drunk or whatever. So yes, that's probably a part of it. But at the same time, where I am and what I'm doing, I want to be around different people that view things the same as I do, shall we say.
Yeah.
And have different conversations and want to help change the world and want to, you know, make a big difference. That's why I share my voice so much, because if we can release the shame and the trauma and all the things that society says we, you know, oh, you can't share that in public. Yeah, you can actually, because the more people that do it will open the door for a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important. I've got no shame now linked to my drinking, and trust me, I did some really stupid stuff. But
You're not the only one.
Yeah, exactly. And the more people that sort of get to that point where it's like, we all have phases in our life where we do stupid stuff, and that's okay. But take responsibility for it and own it, because the shame will just go like that the minute you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, it's as we grow up as well that, you know, you make mistakes when you were younger, and as long as you learn from them, then it's okay. I mean, I definitely had times, one in particular where I vividly remember having no idea how I got home.
Yeah.
And that is actually really scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, and I'll be honest, most of the stupid stuff I did, thankfully, happened before social media.
I know. We're really lucky.
I dread to think. I dread to think now, looking back, it's like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we are lucky, actually, our age group, for that.
Yeah.
That all of our stupid things that we did as adolescents and in young, you know, in our 20s, there's not much evidence of it now.
I might have got into my 30s, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I didn't stop playing football till I was 39.
Yeah.
So I was fit and I was able to play. And Becky's death, Becky, we played in the same football team. So we'd known each other 16 years and we've been in a relationship for 4. And we've grown up around the football team. So I couldn't bear to go back to the football when it wasn't, I couldn't do it. So I was still in that social network until 39.
Yeah.
So yeah. Still done all right though with the social media.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you play football now?
No. I stopped because I broke my back. So this is another thing that happened. I broke my back when I was 15, but I didn't know about it until I was 20. So I had to have back surgery, and they said, you'll never play again. And I'm like, yes, I will. And I played a year later. I said, I'll play within a year. And it was broken in 2 places. And I played 51 weeks later, as you do. But unbeknown to me, it hadn't actually fused properly. So I'd played 20 years and I didn't back out when I played. And I played with my back is still broken in 2 places. It never knitted properly. And I look and think, wow, okay. So I played for 20 years, had so much fun, made great connections. And I also think that when I stopped playing football, that was a catalyst for me drinking more, because I lost that. I was like my family.
Yeah.
They were like my family. So I think that was another element that led to me drinking a lot, was that loss of connection from effectively my football family.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't play anymore. No, I'm a football fan. It's both my granddad and my uncle played professionally. So, you know, I was asked to go professional, but I didn't want to put the training in at the time, to be honest. So it's interesting. But no, I don't play, but I am a lover of football.
Yeah. Yeah. So who do you support?
I'm a West Ham supporter. Don't hold it against me. My uncle played for West Ham. My uncle played for West Ham for 76 to 90, 14 years.
Wow.
He's a legend at West Ham, even now. He's played for England, and yeah. And my granddad played professionally for Brentford, and turned around and said, it'd be lovely to see one of my grandchildren play for Brentford. He didn't realise that his granddaughter would be the captain of Brentford Ladies and go on. And he used to come watch me play. And yeah,
brilliant.
At a high level. It was brilliant. I loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So how has your working life changed sort of since you had your breakdown then? What are you doing now?
So I was a personal trainer for many years, and I also had a community football team that we started for mental health. So I did all that when I lived in London. And then when the world changed a few years ago, I was also going into barracks and doing empowerment sessions for families. So a lot of mine was in person.
Yeah.
So the world changed, as we know, 3 years ago. And I'd been running my own self-love events in London back then. And I met my partner now, Tina. I left London, left my marriage, everything. We just left and went to Gloucester. Our relationships are both finished before we moved. We didn't sort of go by and just come here. We set up a business because we were like, we both really loved empowerment. So what we do now is we run programs called Pure Potential for people that want that self-belief, that self-love. So that's a massive thing. So many people are not loving who they are and really embracing it. So we do that. We also love to speak, as you've probably noticed. So we help people with speaking and camera confidence, both online workshops as well as immersive in-person events. And we also help people to share their story, whether that's through helping them create their own self-publishing. We teach people how to self-publish. It's not as difficult as what a lot of people have been charged for, shall we say? I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
So we help people to understand how to do it themselves, so that then they can create the amazingness that they're here to create. So we do lots of different elements, but it's all about helping people share their story and and to love who they are, have that self-belief to go out there and share their message. So that's our main passion, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's really needed, isn't it? You know, anxiety and depression is on the rise. People, people don't have confidence actually in who they are, and
not at all. Not at all. And this program, the Pure Potential program we run, we help people. We don't just sort of say, oh, well, we're going to help you with your confidence. We help you understand why you don't have it in the first place. So we go into how the brain works. We go into situations. We don't take people back to their trauma and get them to stay there emotionally. That's not how it works. But we help people understand the root cause and how their brain worked at the time that would have all come about, so that they're then able to go, wow, okay, now I understand why that thought came about, which led to the feelings and the behaviors and that ripple effect. So we share our stories very openly. Tina's story is huge. So we share really openly and help people to completely get it, that fundamental understanding. And it changes everything then, because then they go through the 12 weeks knowing exactly how to make that change.
Yeah. Yeah. And so is there a particular group that you find you work with more, or people that need you? Is it young people, old people? Or?
You know what? We've got the youngest person on the group that we're working with now. The youngest person is 21 and the oldest person is 72.
Right.
If people are ready to make change and they are ready to understand why they're having these patterns of behavior, why they're you know, they want more, but they're not sure how or why they're stopping themselves. We're there for the action takers. We're there for the people that want change. It doesn't matter how old you are, what sex you are, anything. If you're ready to make change, but you're ready, and we've had some people who wanted to come on, because we talk to everyone that comes on. They weren't quite ready because we're very, you know, it works, but you've got to be at that point. So what we've done is shown them how to get to the point where they're ready for the program. So they're doing that and they're excited for October when the next one comes. But it's not for it's not for people that aren't ready to step into their true self. So
how do you know if somebody's ready then? How would I know if I was ready?
We talk to everyone that comes on. We don't just sign people up and go, right, you can come in. We have that conversation with people. And if people are still too early or too deep into a trauma that they haven't quite looked at enough, that is going to stop them from being able to, you know, they've still got to process it, or they've got to do that work, then we say, do that work first. This is how you can do that. But to be suitably past it enough to be able to go, okay, I'm comfortable with going back there to reference it, not to go back there to live there, but I can go back and reference it enough without it being too traumatic.
Yeah.
You know, and
you need them to be able to talk about it in a way that doesn't.
Yeah, we help people. Don't get me wrong. We help people that that are still working through trauma. A lot of the people now that we're with are working through trauma, but they're at a point where they're open to, you know, questioning it. They're open to looking at it, going, okay, how has this impacted? Rather than going back there and the minute they mention it, they burst into tears, or it's too hard. So we help them, if that's the case, to get past that bit, to then jump on the next group. It's working really well. It's working really well. You don't want to take somebody on a journey if they're not quite ready for it, because you just take them backwards. And it's not about the money for us. It's about really helping people to reconnect. Because it's not about finding that. It's not, people say I'm broken. We're not broken. We've just got to go back to who we are as our true essence, and be able then to thrive and to embrace that person that society and conformity and all of this stuff masked over. So it's about saying it's okay to be truly you, unapologetically, and being in that position to really embrace it. So
and I think it can take people quite a long time to get there, can't it? You know, to feel that way. I mean, I think I just speaking about myself, I mean, I was definitely very worried about what other people thought of me.
Absolutely.
Probably until I'm 49 now, probably until I was about 40. And now I don't care what anyone thinks about. Well, that's not quite true. I care about the people that I care about. But actually, you know, Joe Public, who I've never met, if they don't like me, that's fine. But I think it can take people a long time to get there.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
And I think what's quite interesting for me is that actually one of my children, I feel, is kind of already at that point where they're quite happy to be themselves. And I think, God, you know, I look at him and just think, God, I wish I'd been able to do that when I was younger. But it took me till I was 40 something to feel that way.
I think as well is that for our age group, there weren't really people out there sharing like there are now and being really open. And because it was just shunned, it was just like, no, you can't do that. You can't speak quite openly. And people were shut down quite quickly. Whereas I think now a lot more people are being open about it. And because there's more people doing it, there's more people supporting those people that are doing it. And it has that ripple effect, and it keeps going, and it's like being a crab in a bucket, and you're that crab that's coming out the bucket going, yeah, I'm going to go out. But all the other crabs are like, no, it's not safe down there. Don't go out. So they're like, no. But you're like, the minute you're that one crab, you then shout down and go, it's all right up here. It's all right. Come out. And you know, and that's what it's about. It's about the more people that do it, the more people that start saying it's okay, then people will start looking at it. And I agree. It took me a long time, but that's why we do what we do now, to help to fast track that, because you can do it. It's if we knew the difference between the unconscious and the conscious mind and how it plays out in our world, would have been a game changer. Tina went to years and years of psychotherapy, and they just kept rehashing the same stuff, the same stuff. She didn't move past it, but the minute she actually understood it herself, it was night and day, absolute night and day. Really interesting. But yeah, it does take, and I think everyone's different, dependent upon what you've been through. But what we say to people is use the skills that you gained through that journey of where you are now. You're back. Use those skills that you developed along the way to be able now to help you push forward, because those skills were there that helped you through moments where you didn't think you were going to get through, and you did. So now use them to be able now to propel you forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, essentially, it's never too late, is it, to change?
Never.
And to, you know.
No, never. Doesn't matter ages. You know, people say, "Oh, we've got somebody who's 72 on our program." It's like, "Does that happen too old?" I'm like, "You're here for decades."
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah.
Easily another 2 decades, possibly. You know, and yeah, the only time where it is too late is when you're dead.
Exactly.
And, you know. So yeah. And I think we forget that, don't we? We forget that actually, no, 72, you could still live for quite a long time. So, and you want that to be the best life that you can make.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, maybe the best time to have done it would have been, you know, 40, 50 years ago, but the second best time is now.
Exactly that.
Make those changes.
Yeah,
So,
exactly that.
Yeah.
And I do think more people are embracing that and looking at things, and a lot of it is about that we call it, some people call it comfort zone, we call it constriction zone, and we help people to step out of that, but in a way that's going to support them.
Yeah.
That's where they're going to grow and they're going to embrace it, because the more comfortable you can be being uncomfortable, the bigger the growth will be.
Yeah. And so as part of your conversations then with your clients, does alcohol and drinking ever come up? Is that something you do discuss with people?
Yeah, a lot of it we won't sort of directly ask, but we'll get an idea from conversations. But a lot of people are having drinks on a regular basis. So it might not be that they're having like binge drinking, but they're coming home and they're having drinks most evenings.
Yeah.
You know, and it's getting to a point where during the day they're planning where they're going to go to get their alcohol for that evening. It's becoming a focus. And having conversations because Tina stopped drinking as well, actually, but having conversations quite openly about my journey, because it wasn't, you know, I wasn't falling about the street, but if I'd have carried on, it would have been.
Yeah.
By being open about that, people were more open to talk about it. So it does come into conversations where it's sort of an accepted way of life for people to drink most nights.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not normal. It isn't normal. It's been normalized, but it's not normal.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's certainly not healthy, is it?
No, the body's not designed to deal with it.
No.
At all. Especially with all the rubbish that goes into drinks and stuff now. I mean, it's shocking.
Yeah. So with your sober journey then, do you drink many of the non-alcoholic drinks or Yeah.
So initially I didn't, because I had this thing of, no, I don't need to replace it, blah, blah, blah. But then it was like, it's not replacing it. But I have, I'm not a big fan of loads of sugar. So I don't drink things that have loads of sugar in it. But I have had, now and again, I might get like a bottle of Prosecco or that type of thing, or have a non-alcoholic beer or cider or something. And I tried the Seedlip when it first came out as well. So I have tried them. I'm a big fan of having them in respect of something different, because it can get quite boring if you want to go out and have a drink and it's like, oh, just have a water, please. so having options to be able to have is brilliant.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I think it depends where you're at in your journey, actually, as to how useful and helpful they are. So I definitely think for some people, replacing a beer with a non-alcoholic beer probably isn't very helpful. if it triggers them into thinking that they actually want to drink the alcohol. But I think I know for me, actually, those drinks really helped me give up.
Yeah.
Because if I fancied a gin and tonic,
Yep.
I would have a seed lip and tonic, because that was kind of what was out there when I
Well,
gave up.
Yeah, and it's looking at it compared to what, isn't it? If I had a choice of, I can either have a non-alcoholic drink or I can have an alcoholic drink, I'd have a non-alcoholic drink all day. At the time I needed to do, in my journey, I needed to not have it for the reason you said. There was that association where, you know, so I completely understand what you're saying. They are so good in respect of helping people not have the alcohol and that what alcohol gives you.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah, completely.
Yeah. And I think it's, you know, it's everyone's journey is individual, and we all need to make our own decisions about what's right for us. And I think a big part of that is just being really honest with yourself, which obviously you were, and I know I was, about the fact that I cannot moderate. You know, I just do not have that.
Yeah. All or nothing.
Yeah, that's me. I am all or nothing. There is no off switch. There is no, you know, have a bottle of wine and it lasts the weekend. No.
Yeah. I tell you one thing that I did that really helped. I drove everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
I drove everywhere because, one, I don't mind driving anyway, but two, it's like I would never drink and drive, like never. So, and I won't leave my car, so it weren't an option. So it's like, yeah, I'll drive. That's fine. Absolutely fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it's making those decisions in advance, isn't it? And realizing that actually that's a good way to help you make sure that you don't drink.
Yeah. And one thing we say to people, not just with regards to alcohol, but with regards to any patterns, is if X happens, then I'll do Y. So if a situation comes up where you know that is a strong possibility that it's going to happen, then you have that, right, if this happens, then I'm immediately going to do that. So you're not caught in the moment of, you know, that strong possibility it's going to happen. If it does come up, I'm immediately going to do this. So my brain doesn't go off anywhere else in that split second. You immediately make the right choice in that moment.
Yeah.
And that was something that helped as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. So I think everyone needs more self-love. So how can people work with you, Lisa?
Oh, so we are called Valentine King. So you can go onto Facebook, I'm a self-loveologist. Self-love, I had none. I had no self-love at all. I couldn't go to university because of situations at home. I chose to give myself an ology because I've been on this self-love journey, and we're going to bring loads of self-loveologists into the world. So Pure Potential is our favorite program. It's all about self-love and self-worth. So get in contact with, I can leave you my details, but the Pure Potential is all about loving who you are, being unapologetically yourself, and having that belief to go out and share that with the world. So yeah, our Pure Potential program is self-love in a box.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I will put the link to your link tree.
Yeah, fantastic.
In the comments, so that if people want to get in touch, they can.
Fantastic.
But have you written a book as well?
Yeah, we've published several books. So it started off, and it was actually about Becky. So when Becky passed away, when the world changed, I said, I want to do something as part of Becky's legacy. So we started a book called Stories of Truth and Triumph. And so it was a multi-author book that we published, edited, etc. And all money goes to a charity called Megan's Space, which helps young people that are really having challenges with their mental health. And so we did that. So we've done 3 books of Stories of Truth and Triumph. And we've also created a book called Made It, Despite It All, Because of It All, which is journeys of business people who really on paper shouldn't, in inverted commas for those listening on audio, they should never have made it because of their stories, because of other things. And they did. So they share theirs. And that goes to send speakers into schools to teach self-mastery to teens. So we've done those books. I've got an A to Z of self-love coming out. Well, Tina and I have. That's coming out in the next 2 months, which is a video series as well as a book. That's the one to look out for about self-love.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And do you often do talks then? You said you love to speak. So do we
Yeah.
find you on stages at different events as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, we've spoke at schools. We do self-mastery for teens, and again we it's about reminding teens that, you know, they are amazing, but giving them an understanding of why they may be feeling like they're feeling. So it's actually giving them an understanding of it rather than just saying, oh, just become more confident, just do this. It isn't as easy as that.
No.
It's about showing them why that might have come up, not taking them back to trauma. That's not what I mean, but helping them understand how the brain works.
Yeah.
And giving them examples. So they'll go, oh, okay, I relate to that. Okay, brilliant. What can I do? So, and we're a keynote speaker in Portugal in October. So we go to different events and we do lots of different talks on self-mastery, self-love, and also speaking training. We help people to speak as well. So yeah, you can't shut us up, as you realize.
Well, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. The message is great though, isn't it? You know, that we all need to love ourselves more and be our true authentic selves. And I think, you know, that's a fantastic message to be taking out, especially to kids, to teens who absolutely. I think can, you know, can forget actually how special and unique they are, and they want to conform, and actually that's not always the best way.
No, absolutely.
So that's brilliant, Lisa. Thank you ever so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been brilliant. So we will put links to Lisa's link tree in the show notes, and also underneath the live that will be going out on Facebook and on LinkedIn. My name's Harry, and you've been listening to Stories from My Drinking Days. Thank you.
Thank you.